see. Here, I got something I want to show you. Let me know what you think about this. Yeah, I'm gonna hop over. Hey Google, turn off the floor fan. Turn off the music. Uh, okay. Okay. All right. So, Alvin, what I'd like to do today is show you this little template that I made, and let's see if it's gonna work out any good. Yeah. So, first thing you're gonna do is stop that screen share, and then oh my God! Wow, I have 31 devices on the network now. Then we'll start the screen share from over here, and then let's see. All right. So let me take a look at this one. Okay. Any particular revenue management? Uh, Let me turn off this fan. Off. Yes, I finally got it off. Okay. Any particular revenue management case that you're working on right now, Alvin?
Mm, Not really, actually.
Okay.
We just realized something. Today we are doing a squat sync up. Basically, we discuss about all the database.
Okay.
One thing, uh, correct me if I'm wrong, sorry, is lot 6 doesn't have a minimum stay, doesn't apply to like minimum stay.
Yeah. So basically, Nunley brought that up with me just before lunch. So I think Lot 2 has implemented a 2 night minimum stay. Lot 6 does not have a minimum stay. And by doing so, it has been, how would I say, there's $8,000 of difference, right? Or even more, I think, between their respective revenue.
Yes, we actually just realized, based on the 2018 and 2019,
Mhm.
actually lot 3 is reducing
Mm,
around $1,000 if we try to compare on it. But lot 6 actually, we actually get a surplus, we get a raise around $8,000 from last year. So there's a growth on lot 6, but there's no, it's actually there's a reduction, reducing on the lot 3 itself. That's
okay.
why I'm trying to look it up again. What is the other issue that actually happening?
Okay. And you guys think it's basically the minimum night stay, right?
Mhm. One of the factors that actually come in my mind, because
Okay.
it's basically only for the last 6 months, right? So it's not really for 1 year. So if I remember correctly, there's not much block from both sides, both lot 3 or lot 6. So I try to aside that kind of factor. The second factor is basically, yeah, the minimum next day, which actually kind of left a lot of gap nights.
Hmm. Okay. What what is the number of 1 night stays that happen at Lot 6? If you were to estimate,
Pardon, sir?
how many 1 night stays have happened at Lot 6?
How many one next day?
Yeah.
I'm to be honest, I'm still not counting up, so I can't really give that answer yet.
Okay.
But
It,
that's why it's only one factor.
okay. I mean, it might be worthwhile to take a look at, let's say, how many 1 night stays have happened in Lot 6. So
Mhm.
if there's, let's say, I don't know, 20 or 40 1 night stays that have happened, I
Yeah.
suppose they could actually add up to about $8,000 worth of difference over the course of the year,
Yeah.
considering that it's between what 300 and $400 most of the time. So I think first we can examine that. Most of these people, as they lose money from gap nights, and if there's
Mm.
nothing to fill in those gap nights, then there's just never going to be great occupancy. So
Yeah.
the other factor too is design. If you think of
Yeah.
lot 3, um, it doesn't have an open kitchen design. It doesn't have an open floor
Mhm.
space. It kind of looks like our office, right?
Mm.
So everything's sort of boxy, divided into different rooms. And if you think about the dynamic between the living area and the kitchen, it's separate. So if you're eating, you can't kind of talk to people who are over the counter. So there's a bit of, I don't know, separation that might happen, and also open space plans tend to be a bit more fashionable in the 2000s. So, but don't let it fool you. I mean, these both these villas are actually pretty old. I believe they were both purchased around 19, no, late 90s. So they're
Yeah.
both at least like 20 years old. Um, Lot 6 had a redesign, a remodeling. And plus, Chris constantly updates the furniture and it
Mm.
just looks appealing. So Claire's been undecided about what to do in terms of a general renovation. Um, but okay, uh, great. Let's investigate further. Let's see if there's a lot of one night stays, and maybe that accounts for the one of the possible differences between the renovations in Lot 6 and Lot 3. Okay, let's see. Actually, I wanted to ask you something else. Are you covering 75% of the squad one now?
Uh, if you count it up with the new property
Uh-huh.
I'm handling right now,
Yeah.
and the property that actually already off-road, yeah, I think so. It's already like
Okay.
75.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Let me. Which ones am I covering? Am I covering anything right now? Because I haven't taken a look.
Uh, I think I only lot three and lot six. Basically, I also still monitoring it.
Okay.
Even though you actually also count it up, but I think lot five is the one that I can still really dive in because
Yeah.
I think Bu Lily still trust you more than the other people.
I mean, I think if you're doing okay, you're doing okay, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah,
there's no
I think
difference.
it's just also preference. I'm still gonna. I will always try to monitor everything. Basically, also to train myself. So
Okay.
how at least I also know when, let's say, other people that actually doing reservation asking for discount or anything else. At least I can still get the hang of it. If in case you are unavailable on that case.
Okay.
Uh, I think it's only left with yeah, lot five and also cerita indah in case we're which actually we almost also left. But correct, just to make it clear, sir. So basically, we can still sell it until 1st of March, right?
Yeah. I would
Yeah,
like to be able to see that you got a full handle on it.
yeah.
That'd be great.
because because basically we still get few bookings from last week, I believe. We got
Okay.
new confirmed booking. So yeah, just want to make sure on it.
Okay.
Only two of it, I believe. Only Cerita Indah and also Lot 5. Lot 3 and Lot 6, to be honest, I can save my needs on it.
Okay.
Just to double check it. That's why I also kind of collecting data.
Okay. Good stuff. Here, let me show you something that I detected today. This might be a good thing. So if you're doing revenue management, make sure you're always looking at the booking pace. There's
Mm-hmm.
good information, but there's also clues to what might happen. So looking at the booking pace the other day, and of course this is very good, 115. And yesterday was 99 as well. But then when you see, let's say, something like this happen, I think the thought process should start emerging. Like, why are we getting so many bookings? So
Mm.
let me ask you that, Alvin. Why do you think we're getting so many bookings?
Actually, I also kind of surprised on that day.
Right.
Uh, Currently, today's 21st, 28th. Okay, that's on the weekend, right? Basically,
Yep.
one of one of the factors. I think pretty much because of the weekend.
Okay.
Other than that, I cannot really say much because actually I'm monitoring it. It's not booking for. It's kind of still mixed up. There's no booking for Chinese New Year. If there's a booking for Chinese New Year, it's only few bookings. So it's not the majority on it. Other than that, there's also few for peak season. But all in all, it's basically like a mix up. So I cannot give a conclusion on it. Also,
Very good. Okay. All right. Let's talk about two things here. Let's talk
mm.
about the part about the weekend. So the weekend falls on what? The 18th and the 19th, right? So that's
Yes, again,
Saturday
again.
and Sunday. Okay. So if that was true, then you would always see like a little spike around every weekend, right? So
Mm.
let's say if you go back 7 days, you would see another spike around the weekend, and 7 days before that. Let's say
Mm.
that's true. Okay, so 7 days before the oh crap, come on. Okay, 7 days before the 19th is the 12th, and the
Mm.
12th is a local minimum, and the 11th, which would be, let's see, 11. Wait, what am I doing? I'm going back seven, right? So seven back from. Okay, right. So I'm looking at the 12th and 11th. Um, the 11th is a bit of a local maximum. You can see it's higher than the 2 days before it, but
Mhm.
it's not really higher than Monday.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's not okay. So it doesn't look exactly like there's and plus over here, which is I think I don't know what this day is the 8th, but that's not a weekend. There's no pattern. Okay, so let's say 7 days ago there was no weekend pattern. Let's look back another 7 days from that. So let's say we're looking at the 12, so we minus 7, and we start looking at the 5th. Okay, so we're looking at the 5th and the 4th, and the 5th and the 4th are actually the local minimum. They are essentially between, I think must be Friday, and this must be Monday, so they're in the valley. So we've seen two cases, and we can keep on doing this, right? Let's go back from the 5th and the 4th. Let's see, 7 days. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, this one looks okay. This one looks around December 29th. That is the peak. But December 29th also happened to be the 2 days before New Year's. So it could be that there's another reason that is driving up the booking pace around those particular days. Okay, not a bad guess, but what do you think the evidence shows? Does it confirm the hypothesis or does it refute the hypothesis?
Mm. Based on that, the weekend doesn't really valid enough that actually its effect on the booking pace.
Okay,
If you try to look at the past months, then secondly, second factors basically either is a Chinese New Year or maybe there's some specific booking windows that actually like at that day.
correct. So if it was Chinese New Year, though, we would see a spike in the orange, which we kind
Mm.
of see over here. But a lot of this extra lift is,
Mm.
let's say, comparing, let's say, this day where we got 100 versus this day where we got 115. You can see the majority of it is actually coming from really future bookings. And you're
Mm.
right. You're very good analysis. You saw that there was a lot that are coming in. I mean, really, like in June and July, even, which is really amazing if you ask me. Because that means people are booking way in advance. They're booking 6 months before they arrive. So let's say you start seeing that. You're seeing people that are kind of booking for June, July. What should maybe be your next instinct to do?
Basically, set up the rates definitely for the peak season.
Go
Luckily, I already do
for
that.
it. Correct. So that would be a very good time to go ahead and do that. Otherwise, we start getting complaints coming in, like from Kathy, about how the peak season rates are a little bit too low. What you want to consider, I'm trying to defuse this situation with Jared right now, who's our booker over the May June period. It's a
Mhm.
little bit complex, so I stepped in. But the thing that Jared suggested was, do we have like a? I mean, we don't set the prices a year in advance, so why do we let people book a year in advance,
Oh
right?
yeah, for university, yeah, basically we don't prepare for something like that yet.
Correct. It can be actually kind of. I mean, it's not bad.
Hmm.
People booking in advance is actually a very very good thing. Um, but I think we're kind of limited by, let's say, the amount of how would you call it? The amount of work that we do. I mean, there's no way we can set the prices for the next 5 years. Um,
Yeah.
in advance today. So that would be kind of crazy. But maybe we can actually stop people from booking so far into the future so that they cut us off. Uh, or we, I don't know, put a rule in that says any dates in any. I don't know if Toki does that. Can you set any future peak season dates like in one shot? Like any? No, you can't, right? Because there's a
We
start
can.
date and end date.
What we can do is basically only limit the booking window itself. So someone can only book next, let's say, 200 days from that current days or kind of like that.
Right. Okay.
If you want to make, yeah, if you want to take an insurance like that, we can do that for a few villa that actually, let's say, right, not really dynamic, just to make sure on it. But for the villa that pretty much dynamic, I think it's basically just like an early bird discount in the end.
Pretty
So
much.
that's the idea. But once again, some of our properties basically like everyone have their own expectation, right? We just need to focus on few property that actually, let's say, in this particular case, need more focus, or let's say need more treatments. We can just put the booking window itself to be a little bit of limited on it.
Okay, I would agree. Let's go ahead and drill down then. Let's see if this has affected Squad 1 more or Squad 2 more. So if we go into Squad 1 and see what. Oh, wow, there's a big spike. Yeah, so it's same shape.
Yeah.
Um, most of these are happening. Okay, so February, interesting. So we got some February travelers from China. I got some March travelers, okay, within the season. We got this June, May, March. Okay, so it should be okay, right? We're looking at mostly travelers coming within the next month.
Mm.
Some coming in May. All right, let's take a look and see if anybody's cutting us off early, like the way Jared did. We got one June traveler coming in here. So Lily
Mhm.
Stevenson. Let's make sure she didn't book something.
Already got December actually.
We have covered all the dates, all the PC dates until December in Squad 1, yeah?
Yeah, I already set everything until the New Year Eve.
Okay, fantastic, very good. So
Only few guesses actually that's still not really set up until New Year Eve. But for the big villa, I set it up until New Year Eve.
thank you. Okay, good defense. All right, let's take a look at that. All right, so looks like squad one's not too affected, but we got left. Let's take a look at squad two. Squad two, same shape too in squad two, right? So they also had quite a lot left 2 days ago, and it kind of went down a little bit on the next day. What about squad? Let's take a look at squad four. Wow, a lot.
Yep.
What the devil is going on here? Why is everyone? Okay, I have no idea. I have, I, this
One thing
is
that we one thing that we can check is basically for what that's actually they booking. If actually at around the same month, there's one probability that actually there's an event on Nusa Penida which can actually attract someone to suddenly booking there. Or secondly, there's also a project from Novi, I believe, that she actually add on the welcome message to promote the Nusa Penida, but it's only on happened on one day, so I don't think that's really an impact on it. But one factor that actually come in my mind, especially probably there's an event if the booking actually for around the same check-in day or month.
let's take a look and see if that's the case. Okay, so too bad we cannot look that far into the future for. Let me see if I can zoom into Squad Four, see what their business is. So what I'm hoping to see is some heat on Squad Four for some dates in February. uh, as far as this will go, and I see none actually. So
Mm,
the only real kind of bunch around is here on the seventh, and I can't see past that date anyway. You're right. There
yeah,
could be some sort of event. Um, that's hard to catch then, yeah, because we can't see far enough into the future. Okay, all right. Uh, do you see that these dates are all lined up on the same date?
we need to double check it. That's why until we check it, we cannot really make a conclusion on it. But
Okay.
yeah, let's say if actually it's around March, almost let's say 70% is for March or something like that. There's a probability on it, but if not, no, not really.
Okay, let's go ahead and do that. So we're gonna go and take a look at these 40 items. I know some of them are gonna be within the month, but most of them have. So we'll just go capture the whole net of fish. Okay, so we are checking to see when their check-in dates are. We can ignore the first few up here because those are irrelevant. And let's see if we see any dates that are overlapping. Um,
February, March.
I don't see any. Oh, March, early March,
Yes, or not.
but then late March
No,
too.
not really. Only few.
Not enough overlap points, right? Okay, you
Yeah.
got some early February here. You got some, mid March, late March, mid February, early February. early March. Not if there was an event, it would stack up around the same dates, right?
Mhm.
Maybe a 1 day span of each other, but these are kind of all over the place. Okay, so it's probably not an event. It's another possibility. Maybe it's a bug. Maybe everything was like jammed behind and it didn't get released until the next day. Uh,
Well,
before, but let's see because yesterday was really busy and the day before was really busy. Let's see what we do today, and that could be a trend. If it's 3 days in a row that's really busy, what the hell happened here? What? 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 What is that right? You see that? This is squad
mm,
three. Squad three got a gigantic booking for $7,000.
mhm. Could you
That's
see? That's for this week, right?
yeah,
Is that, let's say, for whole property, kind of like that, for long term?
yeah, it must be right. That's the only thing that would do that. Let's double check.
That's actually a bit
That's huge. That's
a bit
a
over than what we usually get, even for Jogja.
it's a bug.
I see. So it's
Yeah,
connected.
some shit is getting counted. Okay, all right. So bug report time. I was afraid of this. Um,
That's only for the south then. But the booking price doesn't really different, right?
no, yeah, that's right. It's different from booking pace, but sometimes
Hmm.
I'm worried. I'm
Yeah,
I don't know because one leads to the next, right? Maybe
yeah, yeah.
bunch of booking pace got counted twice. Because as I think a revenue manager, we should have a pretty good instinct of understanding
Mhm.
why something would happen. And if you look at something and you're like, well, why would everybody start booking like in the last 2 days for something in March and April, right? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So okay, all right. Booking pace looks pretty regular. Okay, this guy's booking in July for squad threes. Oh, that's interesting. Oh shit! Do you see that? I think we
Sydney.
underpriced the property. This is just like that guy at Ruma Portama, yeah? He made
Uh, Book
bookings.
times.
Yeah,
But there's also a possibility it's actually booking.com, sir. So if they book a different room on booking.com, it show one by one.
really? No, no, look
Yeah.
at the booking code. The booking code is the
Uh,
Airbnb
is it
code.
the different dates? Uh,
Yeah, different dates.
okay.
So you should probably check what this guy is doing. Lane Salvador. Salvador. So he's booked 3 bookings in 1 day across different spans of time.
Mm.
I'll double check and make sure that this was priced correctly. I'll get
There's
it for you.
Airbnb also.
Yeah, it looks, and there are different Airbnb codes too as well. So there are definitely 3 different Airbnb codes. Okay.
Mm.
Um, anyhow, I'll follow that bug report. So no conclusion right now. So we see
Mm.
that there's a peak in the bookings. We've taken our proper defenses to make sure that we're not underselling something. Um, and everything else seems about right, right? Like we don't see any spikes in let's say weekly sales, except for, of course, all these bookings that have happened outside the month, leading 81,000, which is pretty big.
Yep.
All of a sudden. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the revenue management template. Okay, so this is the thing I want to discuss with you, Alvin, and hopefully, wait. Oh my God, the microphone's over on this side. Let me bring it over here. Hopefully, this sounds better now. Okay, so what I thought was over the past few days when we've been doing the revenue management projections, it's a hard thing because there's no template. So I made a template, and basically the idea here is that it's the same model. So we use a seasonality model and a pricing model and an occupancy model. So we use all three to determine what the annual projection is going to be. And for the regional seasonal model, we've encountered a few cases. So there's low complexity cases where the region does not have much churn. There's not a lot of new properties coming in. There's not a lot of old properties leaving. And we have full control over Toki. The revenue managers have control over pricing, and there's not a lot of owner usage. So that's a low complexity area. And in that particular case, we can just use the regional revenue graph because that is a pretty good representation of the region's revenue. And we can expect pretty good accuracy for that. All right.
Mm.
Then you have the other cases that are mid to high complexity. These are more moderate growth of properties. It could be like Chengdu, right? So there's properties going in that were not in at, let's say, the beginning of the year that are at the end of the year. There's maybe churn properties coming in and out, and let's say more than 50% of the properties are under our control, clean properties. So in that particular case, like in Chengdu, we picked a sample set. So we found 3 to 5 different properties. We screened it by full years worth of data, full control of the properties, and we're able to produce a more reasonable, I'd say a reasonable accuracy, right? Now, there's areas that are really, really complex, like Balangan, right? There's lots of churn. There might be lots of new properties, or we just don't have any availability control. So, in those particular areas, we do not really have a revenue projection model yet, and there's probably no accuracy expectation yet, too. I'm thinking for really high complexity things, like what we were doing yesterday for the maybe for like that Moon case, you just can use one property. So just take like one property that you have that's equivalent as your basis. But of course, then the expectation of accuracy would also be pretty low because there's nothing to average out the variance that happens to one property. So anyhow, the reason I did that was to create a way for us to determine how to create the regional model. Over to you, Alvin. What do you think?
I'm not too much agree on it. But yeah, I think the most difficult one will be if we get a new property that actually also in a new place for us.
Mhm.
Uh, if you try to take simplest way, basically, yeah, only took mirror property that are actually similar and take the basic rates of the property around that area. As that's like what I told you yesterday. But yeah, I was open for any discussion also on it.
But in that case, how would you figure out what the seasonality curve was?
Now, okay, for the seasonality, yes. Actually, yesterday I tried a new things when doing the revenue projection.
Mhm.
Basically, just like what we doing, what I'm doing is basically I'm looking at the difference. So starting from January, let's say, I'm taking one of the middle property. Let's say for a two-bedroom villa. In case, let's say we're gonna use Kanha as a middle property, because once it's actually fully exclusive for us. Basically, on Tableau, you can check on January until February what is actually the difference. Is that actually a raise, or let's say it's actually there's a reduce on the sales itself. So that's actually what I use as a comparison for the month-on-month difference. Basically, the one that actually make it change is let me show it to you.
Sure. Jump forward.
Uh, if please give me a feedback if I share it in the.
Oh my god. Stretch me out. Okay. All right.
Astianto share.
All right. I'm looking at a. Oh wow. Okay. Woof. All over. Okay.
Sorry.
Got it. Okay.
So basically, first thing that I usually do is basically checking on the base rates that actually similar with the property that I'm creating the projection itself.
Mhm.
So this will be put on this one, the price on token. Now I only need to put this one price on token and also the occupancy rates as the starter. After that, if you see on the mirror property multiplier,
Uh-huh.
basically this is what I told you regarding a difference on month to month. Let's say I'm taking a property of Lakanha. So from January to February, the difference is 12%. February to March is basically minus 2.2%. This
Ah.
one, this one that actually I'm multiply it to the occupancy rate itself.
Ah.
So in the end, it's gonna follow it up with the sales. So even though it's actually sales, I know it's kind of pushing a little bit further, but I think in terms of that, if it actually is fully exclusive to us, either it's actually sales or occupancy, basically it's gonna affect each other. So that's
Right.
why the difference of the sales itself, the difference of the sales, I multiply to the occupancy rates from the previous months. In the
Ah.
end, if I
Okay.
try to look at it, it's actually pretty reasonable because December I got 70%, August I get 70% also, and actually on November, October it get lower.
Okay.
So this was actually pretty interesting for me. The red
Okay.
one, the upper side is basically I only counted up 1.4, then the lower hinge here.
Ah,
So it's basically just like the reasonable number. So in the end, this is only internal use basically. So lower hinge and upper hinge is for only for the revenue manager to,
okay.
let's say, to count it up. But in the end, I also have a median. This is what actually I set it up for the owner or for the prospect itself. In the end, the grip's gonna be like this.
That
That's the
is
idea.
that is cool, Alvin. That is something on the next level. Wow. Okay. All right. All right. That's pretty neat. So you're planning the seasonality still based on one mirror property, and then you're creating. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Um,
So basically, I'm only looking for the base rates for that property, and
uh-huh.
looking for the mirror property that I can use for the mirror, for the multiplier on the season, on the what is called the occupancy.
Yes. Okay. I understand that. Wow. That's pretty interesting, actually. Okay. I get it. So the multiplier then controls occupancy, and then you find the
Mhm.
base rates. Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
How do you figure the base rates will change across? Like, how do you
Uh,
figure the
for
base
the
rates?
base rates, to be honest, for the base rates, it's basically from my side. I still cannot get the formula to really, let's say, to get to get the roots on, let's say, to support that number itself. So basically it's still kind of like how I calculate it roughly. So just like July and August, basically that's also a peak season, so I raise it up around usually 15 to 20% from the current one. But well, basically this is a base rate at the end. Even though I already put it, let's say, on $110 for the July and August, when actually I put it on the rates table, I gonna mark it up again. So this is like really the base or the lower when actually I can sell the villa. That's the
Hmm,
idea. But once again, yeah, that's the thing that actually is still hard for me to maintain how much actually I need to put the number for each month. But I only figure out on the occupancy rate. I think that will be the best one right now. So
okay.
I can put the idea on basic rates for entire year.
Okay. Because you know what
Hmm.
happens is generally you can't sell the entire month for the same rate,
Yeah,
especially
that's right. Yeah.
so. We have to kind of think about. It's a little bit easier if we think about the revenue package first, and then
Hmm.
compare that, because then you abstract away what was
Hmm.
inside that revenue package. You just look at like, okay, what was the overall revenue? And that's been a little bit closer to how we've actually been doing revenue
Yeah.
management. But if you assign like a base rate and you're then multiplying the occupancy rate
Hmm.
times the base rate to get you
Hmm.
uh, your monthly revenue, then it would always be a little bit too optimistic, right?
Hmm.
Because let's say we got 80% occupancy. I would imagine in that, like right now, right? Like you
Hmm.
get early bird people who are booking
Yeah.
6 months in advance, and they probably get it at a little bit less than the base rate, whatever that might be, and then you get some people who are booking like let's say maybe 2 or 3 months away, and we probably charge them the most, and then people who are booking last minute probably get a wonderful deal at maybe 30 to 40% off because we want to move that inventory off. So we have to I think be careful how we
Yeah, of course.
one multiplies up to the other. But I
One,
like the idea of using the multiplier um, to determine what the occupancy rate is. That's actually pretty interesting.
actually, I got that reference from Teddy. So Scott actually used something that's similar with this, but I kind of tweak it a little bit because I don't think that's really similar with my current calculation. So
Okay.
from that idea, actually, I have something in mind because regarding I also creating the existing property projection, right? Basically, so for
Yeah.
the old property, I also creating for the 1 year itself. One
Yeah.
thing that I can do is for the existing property in this case, let's say I already got number for this January.
Mhm.
I use that as a basic for the follow up on February, March, April, and May. So the basic rate on January, I can also multiply it with the multiplier itself.
Right.
So the basic is let's say 110, and the multiplier for the February is time 12%. Then I
Yeah.
just need to count it up, and it's gonna follow up also regarding the occupancy.
Well,
So
yeah.
I think that's the idea on it.
Okay. Well, that's exactly right. That's how we've been using the ratios across the season. Okay. I guess it goes back to the question of the mirror property too. So
Yeah, once again, that's another
generally,
point to wanted to spoke.
right? We use okay. We've got kind of two different approaches now.
Mm-hmm.
So in the approach that let's say okay, let's give these different methods a name. Let's call this the squad two method, and let's call it the thing that I do the June method, right? So let's say in the squad two method, you're I think the superior part of it is that you can see different bands and you can
Mm-hmm.
see essentially what let's say the lower band should be and the upper band should be. So
Mm-hmm.
that part's really good.
Mm-hmm.
I actually like that. That gives kind of room for optimism or pessimism for that matter. So you're kind of ensuring both sides. Um, but the thing that I'm trying to figure out about this is that okay, so you have the mirror property to calculate your seasonality,
Mm-hmm.
but ideally, if possible, how you choose to calculate seasonality, how you choose to decide that month to month multiplier, I think should be a mix of multiple properties. Ideally,
Mm-hmm.
every property,
Yes,
if that's a stable market, right? Like no inputs, no outputs, no incoming properties, no outgoing properties.
actually,
Um,
that's a good idea. Once
yeah.
again, more data is better in the end, right? As long as the data is valid.
Right.
Just like what you do. Let's say there's Villa Kanha, let's say there's another property, let's say Villa Arinta or something. Let's say if let's say similar Villa Kanha, Villa Modas already get 1 year's data, then we can actually just took the average on the month-to-month difference, right?
Mhm.
I think it will be more valid because in the end it's kind of like area seasonality.
That's interesting. Okay. But we got to make sure we can play apples to apples still.
Yes,
And,
once again.
right. Oh, actually, that brings me back to the discussion of priorities.
Mm,
If I may share the screen again, Alvin?
sure.
Okay. All right. So I wanted to discuss with you about. God, I think I'm getting a southern accent. It's weird. I was watching House of Cards, and this guy talks with a southern accent. Now I'm beginning to weird. Okay. Here's what I was thinking about. So it's kind of hard to actually ask somebody new to decide what is exactly a mirror property, right?
Mhm.
And I thought about that question too. Like, what is a mirror property? And the best way I can think of what a real mirror property is, it's actually not up to us. It's up to Airbnb. It's
Okay.
what are those recommended properties next to your property, right? Because
Mm,
essentially, if we're talking about mirror properties, we're talking about what is most likely to be booked. Where are you going to get essentially slotted when you start selling? So what group of kids will you start hanging out with, right? What will be your clique? And that's not really determined by us as revenue managers. That's kind of determined by Airbnb by what they see as equivalent. So
mm,
in order to understand, I think, what is a mirror property, I started studying these recommendation lists. So I took an example of something from Paris, and I saw this, right? So this is one particular property in Paris, and I was actually kind of surprised, right? And this is why I was surprised because this looks really clean and beautiful and nice, right? Like nice
mm,
photos. It's got like texture. It looks very welcoming and inviting.
mhm,
Um, but it seems like Airbnb is looking at the price, the number of reviews, the size, and the capacity. And then look what they determine are the first recommended properties. This. Right? Now, I looked at these, and these don't look anything like the one that I just saw, right? In terms of design or appeal from the visual pictures. But what they are is they're pretty close in budget, and they are identical in what they offer. They're all private rooms, are basically for one bed for two people. And
mm.
so I started thinking, okay, if that's what Airbnb calls a mirror property, then that's probably one of the most important aspects, right? Uh, so I'm trying to rank these in terms of what they're. Well, actually, let me delete this first. Actually, I've already ranked it, so there's already a bias there. But let's go ahead and delete this first and try to build this together. So what I'm trying to understand is these I think are the most important factors to determine equivalency if two properties should be compared one to the other. And I mean the first important factor I think is cleanliness, as Lindley would say, are they clean properties? And that's related to management control. So that's almost like I would say the most important factor. Would you agree, disagree, or what do you think?
I pretty much agree with that.
Right. Because if we don't control it, then
Yeah.
it's like the joy of beauty, right? It has very strange seasonality. Okay, so then let's think about the next thing then. So we can only compare apples with apples, and apples mean like they're, let's say, organic apples to organic apples, not organic to inorganic apples. That's another analogy. All right, so then the second thing I think is the property type and the capacity. If it's an apartment, it has to be compared with other apartments. If it's a guest house, it's compared to other guest houses. If it's a house to another house, a villa to another villa, resort to another resort. Once again, they have to be the same varieties. What do you think about that?
Property type probably is good, but the capacity itself sometimes it's not really a priority for me, to be honest.
Right?
Let's say it's 3 bedroom villa and 2 bedroom villa. Sometimes you can actually set the elastic rate. So in this one, to be honest, I don't really see it like that as a priority.
But think about the other way, right? If you have
Yeah,
six people, they could never fit into a two.
or 2 bedroom villa, right?
Right.
Sometimes it's but yeah,
There's not a lot of people, also, Alvin, that I've seen that
yeah.
are happy to pay for extra rooms that they're not going to
Mhm.
use. We generally would prefer to get something nicer in the one bedroom category than something like sloppier in the multi bedroom category.
Yeah.
Think of this, right? Would you rather stay at Chantique or would
Mhm.
you rather stay at like I don't know, what's something that Bodas?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. If it was just you, if you're traveling by yourself or with your girlfriend, would you rather stay at Chantique or Bodas?
Mm, well, if you talk personally, depend on the budget. But I think it's cantik.
Right.
Mm,
And it's kind of like, yeah, you have two extra bedrooms,
yeah.
or maybe you would have each your own bedroom if you wanted that way. But it's really like, why am I paying for a third bedroom question, right?
Mm,
Because that a lot of people would be asking. So I think the capacity is a hard limiter. Essentially, if you have a group too big, then there's no way you can compare it to a smaller property. And if you
mm.
have a smaller group, it's unlikely they're going to book something that's like, I mean, when has ever two people booked Villa Bahagia, right? Even though it's the same price
Yeah.
sometimes as like La Jolla Bubu, it's just unlikely that somebody would book so much extra space for no purpose. Okay, so all right, let's put it on hold, right? So, but it's probably let's can we agree that it should be the top three? Alan,
Yes,
what do
sir.
you? Can we put it in the top three at least?
Oh yeah,
Maybe
I can
number two
still put
plus.
on top. Sure.
Okay, all right. Let's just say it's probably in the top three. All
Mm.
right. Here's another thing I didn't know about, but I saw in this and probably needs a little bit more experiments. I think Airbnb is grouping together equal reputations, right? You see this one? This one here has 511 reviews, right? And it's priced at
Mhm.
$105. Well, these are all equal amounts of reviews at around the same review rate. You see that?
Okay.
Yeah. So they're all above 500 and they're all around 4.7
Mm.
and higher sometimes. So I'm beginning to wonder if Airbnb is grouping you together in the same review category. So whatever reviews that you're going to get, like this is a 4.72. So there is nothing below a 4.72 in the mirror properties.
I see. Yeah, that's reasonable. Yeah.
Pretty interesting, right?
Hmm.
I shouldn't introduce anything of a lower quality than what you already selected.
Yeah.
It would seem like a pretty important user experience type thing. But anyhow, I'm not sure about that. I just wanted to put that out because I saw that there was a correlation. I don't know how many times this happens. Maybe this isn't enough data, but I just want to put that out there. All right. Okay. The next part is the experience quality. So, is the experience quality similar? Is there a similar focus on design? Is there a similar focus on the guest experience? View to view, entertainment to entertainment, authentic to authentic. If these experiences are equivalent, then yes, these properties can be considered
Mm.
equivalent properties. But if the experiences are far different, then I don't think that they can be lumped together. What do you think of this one?
And definitely, it's a top priority, especially for
Yeah.
Airbnb.
Okay. So probably in the top three too, right?
Yeah,
So
top three.
okay. Okay. This is kind of also lumped into experience quality. So it's the location quality. So how much is there to do and enjoy about that location? So is it walking distance to food, shopping, entertainment? Is it walking distance to the beach, to attractions? Is it low complexity? Like like you think of like a low complexity location, a location where you don't need to, like arrange a helicopter to get you out of there.
Mm.
Uh, like Richard Branson's Island or something. That's a high complexity location. But like a low complexity location probably would be, I don't know, like on top of a mall in Jakarta, right? Like everything that you need is kind of like right there. Transportation easily available, food, lodging, anything that you possibly could really want to experience is within low complexity and high safety, meaning that you don't need to worry about really anything. You can just show up, not prepare, and you'll be okay. You'll be safe, right? Your
Mm.
vacation won't be spoiled. So I don't know about how this factors compared to experience quality, but what do you think?
To be personally, I think it's lower than the experience quality for the
Okay,
ranking itself.
okay, so it's probably a four then. Yeah, it's outside
Mm.
the top three. Okay, let's give it a four for now, and then continue.
Yeah.
Okay, now the next part. See, this is all kind of tied together too. Is the amenity quality, right?
Mm.
The amenity quality, or is it AC? Does it have swimming pool, hot water, comfortable furnishings, uh, this type of thing? Um, what do you think in terms of how this ranks?
Uh, from my experience on Airbnb, this actually for the ranking itself is lesser than experience. To be honest, uh,
Yeah, supersedes
because
it,
let's
right?
say we can still sell tortoise, which actually doesn't have bowl. We can still sell DDs and Bingit Ombak, which actually doesn't have AC, doesn't have doesn't have anything basically.
So it's probably like low then, right? So
Yeah.
the experience quality trumps the amenity quality. Okay,
Mm.
interesting. All right. Is there any other things that we should compare? Like we're looking for a good fit, right? So we gotta
Mm.
let's say we're comparing apples to apples. So we're saying that it needs to taste like an apple. It needs to be the same size as an apple. It probably should have the same color as an apple, um, and it needs to. I don't know. Well, I don't know what else is involved in an apple, but essentially, we're figuring out the parameters to test against. Is there any other parameter that you think is necessary in order to determine whether a property can be mirrored?
Mm, I don't think so. Usually, if we're looking for the other property, aside from the or property itself, I only checking on the last three basically experience, location, and also amenities. But if I do manage with owner of property, management control is the first one. Property depth capacity, uh, I I never prioritize it. It's good, but never really prioritize it previously. Reputation is the one that's pretty much new
Okay,
after the announcement.
great. Well,
By the way,